Life here is quite quiet. You wake up, you feed the chickens, you feed the dogs. This is a farm life. I think it's inside of every one of us, this type of life.
Navin is an ambient musician who lives a life in the Brazilian countryside that's almost impossible to believe even when you're looking right at it on his Instagram. Rain dripping from palms and banana trees, mangoes dropping into his hands, chickens and dogs running free, and in the middle of it all, a home music studio filled with classic synths and acoustic instruments and a Fender Rhodes he rebuilt top to bottom. He has a stunning new album out on Mystery Circles called Spinoza, his 7th full-length. You're hearing that now. And part of what makes it so beautiful is how much of that world Navin lets in. You can hear it all beyond the wide-open studio doors. Navin graciously joined me for a conversation about rural life, isolation and inspiration, creativity in the internet age, living in mono, J.S. Bach if he had Instagram, and what makes you feel less alone in the universe. The recording quality is less than ideal because of some last-minute technical hitches, but I think you'll find the conversation more than worth it. This is the first in a series of conversations I'm planning with artists like Navin about how to stay human in the digital age, how we find creative clarity, stay connected, and make things that matter. I'm Steve Wojciechowicz, aka Good Sunset, and this is Slow Fade. Thanks for being here.
We used to live in Sao Paulo, and we decided to move somewhere else because it was already getting too expensive and the quality of life was not worth it. Inside Google, we were looking for the best places to live in Brazil, and one of the places was this one.
Did you have any connections to the region or to farm life before this?
No. I spent like 2 years non-stop watching YouTube, like do-it-yourself videos about farming, about building, about doing stuff, and just saving links, saving photos, saving videos. And now it feels like I've been doing this my whole life.
That's the thing that's so incredible. Every aspect of that life that you put online, it's so astonishing from a sort of regular city dweller's point of view. And it seems so complete. It seems like you were born with this place and you've been building everything by hand up to and including Fender Rhodes for, your whole life.
I think it's inside of every one of us, this type of life. You have like this romantic idea, like poetic approach to life, and it's always close to nature most of the time. So it's kind of you're discovering yourself. But I have friends that they tried and they left after 1 year because it's tough, because there's always something to do. You need to get used to stuff like power cuts. The closest doctor, the closest hospital is like 1.5 hours from here. Shopping is also complicated. Logistic-wise, you need to really take it easy. Mm-hmm. It's not like you buy something online and it gets to your place in 1, 2, 3 days. Now, sometimes it's like 15 days and still not here. So you just learn to take it easy. When we get people to visit us, everybody comes with this romantic idea, but soon they realize it's not romantic at all.
But you're committed to it? You think you're there for the long haul?
Yeah. I can't go back to the city. No way. I cannot even drink water from anywhere else now, because everything tastes like shit, like chlorine or those little details. I'm used to drink clean water now without anything, just water. The fruits, the eggs, all these little things that were like completely irrelevant before. It looks like I'm an asshole sometimes because of those eggs. They look like shit. Oh, this papaya tastes like shit.
Yeah.
But it's true. Coffee, same thing with coffee, my God. We are not too busy here, so you can devote your time to those little rituals like picking the coffee, roasting the coffee, growing your stuff. But this is just because we have plenty of time.
Were you a city kid growing up?
Yeah. I remember my grandmother already complaining about the tomatoes, saying, those tomatoes don't taste like nothing. And I was like, what do you mean? It's a tomato. And then now I know what she meant. And the same with the water. I was always drinking water with chlorine. It's safer, right? It's healthier. That's why, for me right now, to go back to the other reality, it's painful.
I believe it. It's amazing because everything you're describing about the world and the way of life that you discovered there, it seems to express itself in your music too. Everything from the quality and feel of the music to the combination of instruments that you either built or rebuilt, even when you're using electronic instruments or partially electronic instruments, the feeling of something that is handmade and alive and connected to everything that's right outside the studio door. It's so deep.
No, thanks, man. That's nice to hear. I don't know any other way to do it, because I guess it's because I started my farm life almost the same time I was starting with electronic music, right? So I was discovering how to work with wood. At the same time, I was buying my first synth. I guess at some point I was merging both things without really noticing. I always find an excuse to integrate that with the music, like building a small stand, doing chicks for scenes that don't need chicks at all. But like at the end, it's like a small mantra. You go there with your things and you just try to get into the zone. Some people get there collecting butterflies. Some people get there cooking, and some people get there watching Netflix. But yeah, it's kind of a electro rural.
It's not a genre that I have seen anyplace else. And I think that's one of the things that feels so special about it. It's amazing to watch your evolution album to album, but I'm curious about what your sense of it is. How do you feel like your music has evolved, either because you've been working on specific things new each time or something organically?
I studied classical music when I was a kid, and then I quit, just like when I was at like 16 years old, because it was like, like every teenager, like it's a pain to go to piano school and you want to do other stuff and you think that it's not gonna help. So we played in bands also and stuff like this, but I was never into electronic music and synths and all this. So suddenly my entry gate to this world was Stranger Things. I was listening to this synth arpeggio. And I don't know, I went to YouTube and I learned about these two guys. I forgot the name of the guys. And then I was amazed. They had this studio tour. Yeah. And I saw those machines, the big scenes and all that stuff. And I thought, okay, let's try. And my first scene was Cork Monologue, the small one. So because my tools were quite limited, my first album was completely like electronic music, like with drum beats and arpeggios and all these things. And slowly I was discovering new instruments and new ways of expressing myself. There's a lot of happy accidents also. I think my evolution is quite linked with the tools I'm using. So the more new tools I get, the more I think it's changing like this. Like I buy a new instrument and I want to justify that I just bought the instrument. So I try to use the instrument with a new album, and you always find a way. Each time I finish an album, I do a makeover of the studio, because I don't want to get familiar with okay, here's my keyboard, here is a Rhodes, here is my Space Echo, because then everything gets to kind of automatic and kind of easy. So after each album, I just switch everything, and somehow gets unfamiliar to me, and I need to work again this relation with the instruments. And with the last one, It's. I'm learning to integrate more noises and stuff like this, like those luthier kind of stuff that I built.
Right.
And yeah, it's evolving, definitely.
Right.
It's evolving.
Right. It's especially interesting to hear that you make that choice to make things difficult again for yourself in some ways every time you complete something, because there is it feels good when you've kind of mastered for the moment one setup, right? And you can sit down and immediately something sounds good, right? Like, it's very tempting, I think, for a lot of people to lean into that and not want to shake it up.
You know, I understand. I mean, if you sit in front of an instrument, you want to feel familiar, and you want to know what you're doing. And, all these people like, I want to switch the synth, and I want to record, and you want to have everything ready. Mm-hmm. But in my case, I mean, sometimes I don't even save the presets on the synth, because I don't want to. Sometimes I make a really nice preset that I like, but I know that if I have this preset saved, I'm going to use it again and again and again.
Right.
So somehow I just get rid of those presets, and that forces me to start from zero again and you always find new stuff.
For sure. Tell me a little bit about your relationship to the online music world right now. It's especially interesting in your case, I think, because you're living in what feels like isolation and what feels like this sort of little slice of heaven, from the outside. But at the same time, you clearly, you've already described how closely integrated your musical journey recently has been with the online world, from finding Stranger Things. And you also mentioned that you use Instagram as a sort of creative logbook. Just tell me a little bit more about what's been useful to you and sort of how you go back and forth between what seems like a very offline world and then taking inspiration and finding usefulness in the, Instagram and other online musical outlets.
I can spend like 1 week, 2 weeks without seeing anybody. Well, my wife, but for instance, now she's traveling, and she's going to be working outside for like 2 weeks. So I can spend easily these 2 weeks without seeing a human being. Well, I have the dogs, I have the chickens, it's full of birds, you have monkeys, you have snakes, so it's kind of busy here. It's not like there's nobody. But Instagram, it's like the window that helps me to relate with other people, with other humans, because otherwise it would be quite lonely here.
Sure.
In this level of creativity, because there's no like a community like in other places. You can go to shows, you can go to live, you can mingle with people, but here you don't have this opportunity. So for me, Instagram is really like this mingling place. And as you said, for me, it's also like a logbook. Each time I think I have something, I'm experimenting with music or whatever, I make a post, and I know that this idea is there on Instagram. And most of the time, each time I make an album, I take all the references from Instagram. It's already recorded there. I watch them and I go like, okay, let's try this one. But yeah, it's quite, as a tool for me, it's very important, because otherwise I forget the stuff. I'm collecting ideas, but 90% of the ideas are just crap, right? And some of the ideas you need to work them too. And most of the time there's a lot of happy accidents there, right? Mm-hmm. It's not even you. Like, oh, I'm so good. No, it's not that. It's just an accident that, like Picasso was saying that he believes in inspiration, but it needs to catch you working in the studio.
Right.
Otherwise, inspiration it's nothing. So that kind of inspiration, I'm trying to save it in Instagram. And I mean, there are many ways to approach this album thing, right? Like, if you're a band, the main thing, I guess, is the deadline, right? Like, hey, you have a deadline. It's next month, make something. And then you get together, you start playing, and whatever comes. And then you have another way, which is like some other people, like in my case, I do. It's like you go, you collect, and when you have enough, with a rush, right? If it's not good enough, nobody is forcing you to put anything outside there.
Right.
In a creative perspective, not having expectations, not having a public, not having a, like a manager and all these things gives you a lot of freedom.
For sure.
It doesn't give you money.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the trade-off, right? You are one of so many artists I know and I've gotten to connect with online and sometimes develop friendships with who are doing absolutely staggering work. And it's like the blessing and the curse of this moment, right? The distribution's available to everyone. A lot of the gatekeepers are gone. And these incredible things are being made in places they couldn't be made before. I can't imagine how expensive it would have been, if it would even be possible, to have your current recording capabilities in as remote a place as you are, like 20 years ago. So many people have the equivalent of world-class studios in their bedrooms or their garages or their barns right now. So all these phenomenal things are getting made, and because so much of it is online, you can find them and then even connect with those people as human beings. But the other side of that is like things just get lost, or like you discover an album or an artist you're absolutely on fire for, and you present them to your friends, but then there's a million other things competing for their attention, and they may watch one reel and move on, right? And never listen, or listen to an album one time that took, months and months of unbelievable passion and care. And then it's all just caught up in this giant digital flood. I mean, how do you deal with that, or how do you think about it?
I consider myself lucky because I went through this digital transition, like historical transition. Like as a child, I had vinyls at home, so I know what it is to have a analog life without internet, and now I know what it's to have this sort of life. So I know that new generations, they cannot compare. They just live in this digital rush. But at the end, I guess it's about an emotional connection, right? I remember going out, buying the vinyl and listening again and again and again and again to the vinyl and getting attached to the music. And then also what you just said, like getting the vinyl and going to a friend's place and saying, hey, look how cool I am. I just bought Pink Floyd, or Cream, or Genesis, or Yes, or some Frank Zappa. We were 12 years old. And it was like, what the fuck? And then you were feeling like the coolest guy in the neighborhood because you were listening to Frank Zappa, right? But right now, it's true that there's a lot of offer, and not only this. As far as I know, a huge percent of the content of Spotify is artificial intelligence right now, right? Like, how do you develop an emotional link with that type of music? I guess people does. But it's complicated. I mean, it's a terrible time to be a musician right now. Right. Sometimes I think how they did it in the 80s, like those bands playing in a garage, then making a tape, and then suddenly they were on TV or they were on the radio, and things were so complicated. Yeah. You had to send the tape by post. You had to have actual meetings with the people. That was complicated. That was really tough.
Right.
Now it's super easy, but at the same time, there's a lot of content. The most important thing here is like, are you having fun? Are you doing it because you want to do it? I mean, you play music because you're a musician, or you're a musician because you play music? Can you get up and just live without music from one day to the other? If the answer is no, then you're going to be fine, because just sitting in front of the piano, your life kind of sublimates into something else, right? In my case, I'm lucky, of course. Then you can get into the, how do you pay the bills, right? Like, okay, I'm a musician, but I cannot pay my bills, so I'm going to do something else. I'm lucky here that we don't pay rent, we don't pay water, we don't pay electricity bills. So with a little bit, I can have a decent life and devote myself to the chickens and the music. But I do understand that the industry right now is having a earthquake. Like, it's not enough. It's not enough to enjoy what you do if you cannot pay your bills.
I was curious, your graphic design is absolutely amazing. It sort of expresses this combination of two worlds in a way that's so similar to the music itself.
I used to work in the editorial work, like printed stuff, but not as a designer, as a publisher, curator, and stuff like this many years ago. So at some point, I was having a lot of issues with designers, right? Like I was saying, hey, can you change this? Can you do that? And they were like, okay, give me 1 week. And I said, come on, man, it's just one line, 1 week. Well, and at some point I was like, okay, I'm going to try myself. I downloaded InDesign, Illustrator, and I get into Pinterest. I look for inspiration, some references, and I do it myself. I do prefer to work with a designer 100 times, because it's so important to have an exhaustion point of view about things. Otherwise, you are just inside your brain, right? Mm-hmm. But right now, I cannot afford, and I really have time, and I enjoy it. So I have some really good designers friends, but I abuse them a lot already. So I'm not doing it again. It's like, it's like a humanistic approach. Like, you know a little bit of everything, but you are not good at, how do you say this in English? Jack of all trades and
master of none.
Yeah, that's it. So that's me.
Well, I would argue with you on the master part, but I understand the feeling. It's so much of a piece with, the way you've taught yourself to be self-sufficient in all these other ways, right? In all the aspects of farm life.
Yeah, because at the end, like cutting a piece of wood and making a chair, or making a song, or designing something, everything comes from the same part of the brain, right? Mm. It's just a matter of do you have the psychomotoric skills to transfer your idea through your hands to the piece. And some people don't, because they don't train. Some people don't do it because they don't have the skills. But I guess if you practice, everything comes from the same part of the brain. I guess I'm lucky.
So, yeah, let's talk about Spinoza a little bit. I'm very curious about how you discovered him, what he means to you.
Spinoza's work is just basically one book. He's not easy. No, it's not an easy book to read. Ethics, and then there's some other stuff that he didn't finish. He had a lot of issues in the community where he imagined back then writing about God, right, in the way he was writing. He had no connection with Buddhism at all, but everything that Spinoza says is so related with Buddhism somehow. Like, he's linking nature and God in a very special way. There's no, because back then, like, God was one thing, then you had the real world, then you had the humans, and everything was separated, and on top was always God. But for Spinoza, it's just one single thing. It's what he always calls the substance. It's kind of pantheistic way of seeing the world, right? Very close to nature. One thing that he always talks about is liberation through understanding. You have to understand things to be liberated. And that's something that back then nobody was into. The church was not interested. Well, he was Jew, right? But he was expelled from the Jewish community because of the writings. And then, funny thing, he was one of the most talented lens makers back then. And actually, he died. He died because of the dust, the glass dust from the lenses, from polishing. He was breathing nonstop this thing, and he ended up dying because of this. But yeah, liberation through understanding. That was something that really catch me, because you know that in the religion world they always say, "Oh, you don't have to question those things. You don't have to understand. You just need to believe." So Spinoza was the opposite thing. Once when you understand how things work, then you truly can devote yourself to those things. But mainly for me, the things that's why actually I call the album Spinoza, because of the link that he has, that nature, spirituality, and God, which is one single thing for him.
Right. And for you too?
Yeah, since a child. It was always, when I read Spinoza for the first time, was like same age, because I believe when we are 16, 18, right, is when we get into these things, like you start reading hardcore philosophers, and then you get into, I don't know, you mix it with a little bit of Bukowski and stuff like this.
Right.
Back then was really like, you know, when you're reading someone and you go like, shit, I always thought of that.
Oh yeah.
And then suddenly you feel like there's someone else. You're not alone in the universe. And when you're a teenager, it's happening all the time.
Right.
Because I was always like, oh, man, how can you separate animals from humans, from trees, from all those things? Doesn't make any sense. Everybody's under the same sky. So yeah. You know, he's also against all this thing that, like, there's no one God up there watching you, and it's like, okay, now you're behaving bad, you're behaving good, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that.
Right.
Do you remember Einstein used to say, I don't believe in God, but if I have to believe in one God, it's going to be Spinoza's God.
Sure. You know, so with that explanation, it makes a lot of sense how that's expressed in the music and how much of the world around you're letting into it, in the combination of the electronic and acoustic instruments. And tell me a little bit about the decision to record it in mono.
Actually, that wasn't a decision. That is a problem I have. I'm deaf in one ear. I can hear nothing. I was 6 years old when I lost the nerve, so there's no way to fix it. Well, I've been trying to make stereo, but I'm faking it because I don't know. How does it feel to listen in stereo? My friends tell me that it's amazing, you know, like you have all this special feeling. You can feel things coming from one side. You can also play with this binaural stuff, but sadly I cannot. I was reading like that the guy from the Beach Boys, he also had an issue with it here, the singer. And for a while, they were recording everything on mono. So I said, okay. And also, I don't know if you heard, but they say it's really good to do your final mastering in mono.
Yeah.
And then you switch to stereo, because you can have a better feeling of the whole thing. In my case, I just embraced the mono thing. I really want to do something in stereo and play with a thing, but I cannot do something I cannot experience. At the beginning, I was trying to do stereo because some scenes they have two outputs, right? Like the Virus, the Juno, the Mofo. They have a stereo output, so I was recording on a stereo, and I was seeing that the waves were different in the left and the right, but I don't know how it feels.
Right.
So at some point I said, I'm going to stop it because I don't know, maybe something is off. Maybe there's something wrong and I cannot feel it. I think I tried with the first and the second album, and then I just give up.
I had such a lovely experience with Mystery Circles, and I feel like David is just a national treasure. Lots of people say labor of love, but, and especially in the sort of ambient and experimental music community, like no one's making this music to get rich, either from the musician side or the label side. The fact that it's a labor of love for him is so clear to me in the way he works, the way he talks about music, and how excited he gets about sharing things. So I'm curious what your experience was like with him and with the label.
He must be a romantic, because there's no other way you can put your energy into something like this. It takes a lot of energy and devotion to do something. You really need to believe what you're doing, and he's creating this community. I did approach him. I sent an email a couple of years ago because I'm really super interested in the lineup that he has right from the beginning. I was actually using his Bandcamp page for inspiration. It's actually like a playlist. His page on Bandcamp, like Mystery Circles page, was kind of my initial playlist, like my first contact with that type of music, like ambient and electronic, and most of the stuff that on the catalog was like, wow, I really like this. So I've been growing as a musician with Mystery Circles catalog. As you said, you don't make money with this. So if you don't make money with this, it's a passion, and I respect that a lot.
Yeah, it was exactly the same way for me. I came across a series of albums or artists, maybe through Instagram, and every time somebody resonated with me and I went to Bandcamp then to check out their material, I would say, oh, Mystery Circles, and then I became a subscriber.
It's a curatorial work, right? It's like everything together speaks a lot about the person behind. It's his vision, right? How he sees the music he likes. So you really need to be consistent, and you need to be true to yourself. It's like an art gallery. Most of the time, that the best galleries are the galleries that represent perfectly the idiosyncrasy of the guy running the gallery. With those labels, I think if you are true to yourself, to your taste, the people can notice that. Because otherwise it gets too eclectic and you don't see a line behind.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that can be anyone's catalog.
Right.
I guess, David, the word that describes what he does is risk, right? He's taking a risk.
Yep.
He's taking a risk inviting me, inviting you. He's taking a risk knowing that maybe you're not going to sell the tapes. You're putting your taste out there, and maybe the feedback from the market is not always the one maybe it's the one you expect, but it's not the best for the business, right?
Right.
But at least he's true to himself. So, and that's something that you have to respect, and more in this context of music.
Yeah, for sure, especially now. With the album out, have you done the studio rebuild, and are you sort of making things difficult again for yourself, preparing for a next project?
I'm redoing the studio right now. I'm fighting with cables, and each time I finish an album, it's like a kind of discipline. It's like I want to finish an album, and because if I don't finish the album, all the songs I have, all the ideas, they need to be inside an album, and then I can close that part of my life. Then I can breathe and start again, like relaxed. So now I'm in this moment where I can breathe and relax, and the albums, they don't go anywhere. Like I barely have followers or listeners, but it's a way for myself, like a kind of a sublimate my own existence, if that makes sense, and finishing an album and putting a cover on the album, that's like you can leave this thing behind and start something new. And right now, answering your question, I really don't know the direction I'm going to take it right now. I'm just messing with the studio, and this is kind of a strongly emotional. Like I don't play if I don't feel like playing. So some days you just wake up and you go like, I don't feel like. Some days, those days, they last like 1 week, maybe they last 1 month, and you don't play anything. And then you wait until this thing comes. And when it comes, it's like you really need to be in the studio. When that energetic flow of creativity comes, you need to be in the studio with everything switch and take it, because maybe next week you're going to be again feeling like, I don't want to do anything in this universe. So it's quite delicate, creativity. It's different, right? If someone is paying you and saying, hey, make a song for this commercial next week.
Right.
You just see it, no matter if you're inspired or not. Maybe you're going to take your ideas from last year and you're going to come up with something. That one is your own thing. It's like one of those basic functions, like I don't feel like eating, or you don't feel like going there. Or music is quite fragile. And I don't know if you go through the same, but I can see it and do it like a discipline. Like sit at the piano and learn this new thing from Bach, a new song from Bach, or practice so I don't get rusty. But the act of creating something new, that comes from somewhere. I don't know what is this somewhere, and I have zero control on this thing.
Right.
I don't know the other musicians in your case, but I don't know if you go through this also.
So professionally, I'm a writer. I was a journalist for a long time. I mostly work as a screenwriter right now. There are things that are similar in terms of the way creativity works, the way balance of inspiration and discipline. But with music, for me, I have had, especially over the last couple of years, such an incredibly strong experience of the music existing somewhere outside me, so that the idea of my controlling it seems almost ridiculous. It's almost that there are things that want to be said or sounds that want to be made. And if I'm there at the right time, then I can kind of unlock things. And my job is to press the right combination of buttons to let it come out. That's sort of my experience of it.
I think it's the same thing for writers, sculptors, painters. You need to master tools. You need to know how to use the pen. You need how to use the language. You need how to use the brushes and thing. You need the skills to control the output. But then the creative process, it comes really from. But of course, if you get this rush of creativity and you don't have the tools, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the skills, then that's a problem.
For sure.
That's why I like to practice. You need to know your tools, otherwise you end up using loops from slides or stuff like this.
Do you ever go back to classical repertoire?
Oh yeah, the way I warm up, it's sitting in front of the piano, and before I was playing more jazz, blues, and stuff like this, but right now I'm just with Bach. I'm obsessed.
I love it.
Everything in the music is in Bach. There's nothing happening now that it was not in Bach. And he's a great example, because the technique and the way he writes, and he's so precise, so perfect. He was in contact with God. That's for sure. So for the technical process, he's amazing. Now I just miss in Bach a little bit of creativity. You can listen to Eric Satie or you can listen to Debussy, and they are not so complicated. They are not so virtuosos, but there's something else there. But yeah, imagine Bach with Instagram. Like, he was playing in different churches, and sometimes he was walking like for 2 days with his brother to the church, to one to the other, to make a show, a concerto. My God, I think he had like 15 kids. And he was writing non-stop and playing non-stop, without email, without Instagram, without telephone, without anything. And we still talk about him. I'm learning with him. I still play Bach. like 300 years later. So imagine all this music in Spotify right now. Who's going to listen to this music in 300 years from now? The repertoire from Bach, in particular the Goldberg variations, was played by professional musicians to train themselves. Nobody wanted to sit and listen to Goldberg variations for 1 hour nonstop. That was not the type of music that people wanted. They wanted something more Italian, more fun, more cheerful.
Right.
We are really lucky that he made it.
For sure. It's a good reminder that, in a time where lots of people are chasing vanity metrics online, or just have a sense that they're failing if they're not reaching a certain kind of audience, that a small but passionate audience who understands that you're doing something that's really special counts for a lot. And I think that's the way I relate to your music. I'm so grateful that you've built this whole world around it and are sharing this journey. And whatever it is that's moving through you each time you're in a new phase and putting a new album out, I'm so glad that it's there, and I'm so glad that you're following it, because it's meant so much to me. And it feels even better now that I get to hear you talk about it and share, the process and the actual world around it a little bit.
You're too kind, but thanks so much. Sometimes it's true that when you can link the persona with the work, sometimes it helps you to understand a bit better the work, and sometimes it's just the opposite, right? You met the artist in persona, and then you go like, shit, man, I don't like it. It can happen the other way too.
I wanted to talk in part because I just wanted to share my own enthusiasm for your music, Spinoza, and everything that came before it. Also because I hope to bring it to more people, and helping people get to know you a little bit through this conversation. Hopefully you can do that.
Yeah, let's sell some tapes.
There you go.
Thanks again to Navin and to David at Mystery Circles for connecting us. Go check out Spinoza and the rest of Navin's work at Bandcamp. Check out his musical life on the farm at his Instagram, and check out the rest of Mystery Circle's amazing roster at their Instagram. I was lucky enough to release my debut as Good Sunset there last year. And if you enjoyed this conversation, drop me a comment, leave a review, share it with somebody you think might like it, and let me know if you'd like to hear more like this. Thanks for listening.